Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fandoms Edge podcast, your monthly home for discussion on games, TV, film, and everything in between. As usual, we're your host, Joe, and the man who goes in stealth missions with a neon sign, Tom. Tom, I know you're not going to give me context, but do you want to explain that one?
I mean, stealth missions usually go very, very badly for me. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
That's all we're saying about that.
Thanks for the context. That really helps me.
Semi-context, but yeah. Sure. You're welcome.
Okay. Well, anyways, this month we will be talking about October's game releases, Halo and Assetto Corsa Evo. Very excited.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Is it exciting? Yes.
Oh, I feel you, Tom. Tom, why don't we start off with what we've been up to this month? Tell me what you've been doing.
Yeah. In terms of games, playing Call of Duty for a particular reason. I'll get to that when we get to game releases. My usual Sim stuff, actually. I've been playing a bit of Assetto Corsa, but not the way that you think I have been. I've been recording some cinematics. I don't know if you know about that.
I wonder what this could be.
Yeah, I've been taking screenshots, doing cinematics, doing the drone camera. Yeah. I wonder what that's all about.
Hopefully.
Just gonna have to wait and see.
Hopefully we'll be able to share more news on that soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Carry on.
I've been playing a few of the Sims. I recently picked up Supermarket Simulator. Because that's fun. Yeah. The little job Sims. Yeah. I've been watching... Well, I started watching Agatha all along on Disney+. I'm not that into it, but I'm kind of behind at the moment. But I have started it. I've also recently been watching this wonderful event that was hosted in Manchester. CitizenCon 2954. Unfortunately, I'm not talking about Star Citizen today because I will be doing my yearly roundup of CitizenCon, but you're going to have to wait a month in order to hear that. Unfortunately,
I feel like you need a whole podcast just for that alone.
I actually do. I actually do. There's so much, but it's very exciting. It was so good. I watched all the live streams. I wasn't there IRL because although it would be a quick trip for me, tickets are like 200 quid. I'm not, even if it is roughly around the corner for me, theoretically. I'm not paying that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that.
I think it's easier to just infiltrate it through job, become a game dev, and do it that way. And then you've got CitizenCon free because then you're a dev. See, easy peasy. That's how you get to CitizenCon. Become a dev and join CIG. Sorted.
Well, I suppose it'd be an easy job because you wouldn't ever do anything.
Chris Roberts.
Chris
Roberts swimming in his $700 million. Yes.
A little bit of shade there, but you know, they deserve it.
Anyway.
Anything else, or is that your month, Tom?
Oh, that's roughly what I've been up to, really. Yeah.
Fair. As you may already be able to tell, I have caught diseases off my friends. This is a 3, possibly 4 week cold now that took out like 16 people. So I'm sorry if you have to listen to me coughing for this podcast.
Does that mean if it's taken out people? Does that mean I'm going to have to do podcasts from now on by myself?
Yeah, this is actually Zombie Joe. Just, reanimated. If I start getting bitey, don't worry about it.
You've no idea how relevant you saying you're a zombie is to this month's podcast.
No, I know how relevant it is.
To a particular gaming release that I'll talk about in a minute, but yes.
Yeah, I'm aware. But other than that, funny you mentioned Agatha all along, because I watched the first episode of that and I haven't gone back to it. But I see that it is all out now, so I might try and watch it again at some point. what I have been watching though is I've been rewatching Top Gear. It's all on BBC iPlayer now. So yeah, I'm loving a bit of that at the moment. That's, you know, going back and watching it from series 1, very good, very fun. In terms of games, I've been playing obviously Space Marine. What else? I've also been playing a little bit of Train Sim World. I've gotten back into that a little bit.
Yeah, noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've started playing some World of Warships again.
Oh, you didn't invite me. What are you doing?
Do you know? As soon as I said that, I realised, oh, hang on a minute. He's going to want to be there.
What are you doing, man?
Sorry, Tom.
Bro.
Yeah, I didn't think. I just launched the game and I was like, I'll just play a couple of games.
I probably need to update it. I've not been on it in a while, but still. My internet's pretty quick.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well.
Anyways, that's what I've been up to this month.
Nice.
Not intentionally leaving you out. It was an accident, but sorry. But you know, moving swiftly onwards. Tom, why don't you talk us through this month's gaming releases?
Yeah. So for those people that are new listening or watching, I'll cover a mass majority, some highlights of a various number of genres. Also, it has been Steam Next Fest over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, by the time you're listening to this, it's ended. But there might have been a couple with some demos over that that you might have known about. Some might still have their demos actually out yet as well. So I'm going to start with a couple of the big highlights to start with. Call of Duty Black Ops 6, 25th of October for PC, Xbox and PlayStation. Obviously, this is the big AAA launch of this month. And it will include, obviously, campaign, multiplayer, and zombies. We've got a return of round-based zombies since Cold War. Cold War came out in 2020, so it's been 4 years since round-based zombies.
Wow.
Yeah, because obviously Modern Warfare 3 introduced the more open-world extraction zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I have been playing. In my opinion, it's the worst version of zombies ever, because I don't like this open-world extraction version of zombies. But I'm only playing it because you get the most XP out of it, and I want to complete the battle pass, because one of the things that does transfer over is obviously your COD points, and you kind of want to maximize that for the next game if I do want to buy anything from the store, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I must admit, I haven't actually bought anything from the store at all, but because the new one's coming out, there might be a bundle that they might add at some point, or I'll just use it for the battle pass, you know, and that's fine. There's no carryover for ranks or progression or skins, etc. Just the COD points, so you won't be seeing Nicki Minaj or Messi or some stupid ass skins running around.
Sorry, Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, there's a Nicki Minaj skin for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna go do some googling.
And there's a Messi skin. There's a Tomb Raider skin. The Tomb Raider skin was actually all right. How do I put this bluntly? I'm not. It's turning into Fortnite when it comes to the skins. It's
yeah.
It's a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. I just want it to go back to normal stuff. Now I've not been... For context for people, my first COD, by the way, was Cold War. You know, so I'm mostly a Battlefield player, but Battlefield's been slacking. Yeah. But I have enjoyed the zombies experience because Cold War was my first zombies experience. Have you found it, by the way?
Yeah, I just... just the only thing that comes to mind is why? Just why?
Yeah, there have been... If you think that's bad, there have been worse. There have been worse. I have not touched a single one of those stupid skins. I've just kept with... I've actually kept with... when I've been playing multiplayer, I've been just keeping with Soap. Yeah. Been playing him.
Yeah, let's move on from that.
Since launch. Yeah. The one difference that you may notice with this COD is there's no early access for the campaign this time. So usually what they do is you have the campaign like a week early so everyone can play it, and then when it officially launches, then there's multiplayer, and if that version has zombies, there'll be the zombie stuff as well. Yeah. Zombies is very exciting for me. I'm very looking forward to that. Obviously, by the time the podcast is out, the game's out, so I would be playing it. I probably would have streamed it by now. Yeah, it's an exciting, lovely PvE experience that I'm just looking forward to for some new stuff. And they've dropped a bunch of blogs recently, and it is looking quite good. I don't know what limited or much information you've seen about it. I don't know.
Not much. I mean, I've seen some promotional material, but like I've not really watched any like videos or anything.
Yeah.
I seem to have avoided a lot of stuff for it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I've managed that.
Yeah. But there was a bunch of information that's come over these blog posts that they've done over the last sort of week or so. Obviously, that was probably a couple of weeks ago to people watching, because obviously we record this in advance because we don't do this live. That would be disastrous, wouldn't it?
I don't know. One day.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll do it live.
That's not a spoiler before anyone starts jumping on it. We briefly mentioned it as an idea, and it's a
long time ago. Yeah, it's potential. It could happen.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you are interested in card, it's coming out on the 25th. I'm looking forward to zombies. I'll be playing some zombies. I'll probably actually stream some campaign as well. We'll see. The second highlight I want to mention is the Red Dead Redemption PC port, 29th of October.
This one I'm excited for.
This came out of the blue. Everyone's like, "Where's the GTA 6 trailer?" Nah, Rockstar's like, "Here's Red Dead Redemption for PC. There you go. No GTA 6 trailer for you."
I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually more excited about this. I'm actually like, I'm excited for GTA 6, but I loved Red Dead Redemption.
I never played the OG. I think I've mentioned this before. I've played Red Dead Redemption 2, and someone said to me, "Well, actually, you're playing them in the right order, technically."
Yeah, but how have you not played the first one?
Because I didn't own an Xbox 360 when it came out. When people were owning a 360, I had a rubbish laptop and a Nintendo Wii. Okay? Yeah.
Disappointing.
So
you will enjoy this though, and I'm glad that it's coming bundled with the Undead Nightmare expansion.
Yeah, and it will cost you a whopping £40, which is more expensive than I thought it would be. I thought it would be roughly £30 because it's a port, but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether they've upscaled it at all.
It's not AAA, obviously, price, but it's a little bit lower. But I don't know. Yeah, £40. And it's actually Go on.
I was going to say, I suppose the way I'm looking at it is, I don't know if it's support, but even if it's not, you've got the base game and the Undead Nightmare expansion, which was basically another campaign following the campaign of the game.
Right.
So, in effect, you have kind of got two games in one. So, thinking of it that way, I know obviously it's built in the same world, on the same engine. All they've done is put some new character models in and stuff like that. But obviously they've written a whole new story for it. And for me, that feels like a lot of content.
Yeah.
So, looking at it like that, I mean, yes, £40 is a lot. But I think we're getting a lot more than we would with other games. So,
yeah.
I don't know. People have their own opinion on that.
Yeah. This has been developed. Obviously, Rockstar would outsource a studio to do this port because they are very busy making GTA 6. It's been developed by 11. Now, 11, you may recognize the name for because they are the people that brought you and took over when they sold the IP, when it was a small little indie game, Prison Architect series. So they made Prison Architect, they did the port for console, and then they started Prison Architect 2 before then moving on to a Brazilian development team, which was an announcement last year. So they've been there's been this whole year of handover, but officially a few months ago, they're no longer on Prison Architect 2. And so they're doing other things. I think the between them and Paradox, because it's a Paradox publishing game, there was they didn't agree on a commercial agreement with Prison Architect 2. So that could mean anything really. That's what was announced to the public anyway. So yeah, they've obviously been busy doing this. I know they've actually released their own first IP as well. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so obviously they've been using that. So it's another British company. I think they're based in Middlesbrough, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's who have been working on the port in collaboration with Rockstar. If you're wondering who is behind that. Right. Release summary. Those are the two highlights for this month. The release summary, 2nd of October. I've got a couple of simulator games for people that like the job sims. Recycling Center Simulator for PC. If you want to run your own recycling center, you can do so. On the 4th of October, you've got something for the Americans, Gunsmith Simulator PC. Also on that day, there's the Until Dawn remake as well for PC and PlayStation. That's not a simulator, obviously. That is another type of game. They just came out on the same day. It's horror, isn't it? Until Dawn?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I love that you felt the need to clarify that, though. Oh, it's not a simulator.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. It's because I was just talking about simulators. Anyway, 8th of October, another horror game, Silent Hill 2 remake for PC and PlayStation. Also on that day is the Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred DLC. So yeah, that's already out. 11th of October was the Dragon Ball Sparking Zero for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, the fighting game based on the anime. A bunch of my friends love anime, they love Dragon Ball, so they're really loving that game. And then we've got 22nd of October. This is a game that we said we would keep an eye out on. This will be in PC Early Access, but this is No More Room in Hell 2. That's that zombie game where you all come together as a collective. You start all separately. I don't know if you remember from Summer Games Fest. I'm trying to jog your memory.
I don't. I might do some Googling to remind myself.
Yeah, but it's that game. It's coming out in PC Early Access. Then on the 24th of October, we've got another Early Access game. In fact, I say that and I remember seeing that they've actually delayed it till November. So it's not coming out on the 24th at all, but I'll mention it anyway. It's Underground Garage. Think car mechanic simulator, but for something that would be in the world of Fast and Furious. So for street races. So you're doing the repairing or tuning or upgrading of different parts of cars of these really flashy, more street racing cars.
Yeah.
And it's got a demo. And I played the demo during Steam Next Fest. It's pretty good, actually. It's a little different from car mechanic simulator because you actually get to drive the cars in the garage and out, which is cool.
Oh, okay.
And you play as a person in third person, but some of the stuff is in like first person. But if you play car mechanic simulator, it's roughly the same. The controls are different, so it might throw you off, like it threw me off. I'm obviously used to the car mechanic simulator controls. It needs some polishing. There was definitely some glitches, some graphical glitches, and some clunkiness. But yeah, it was decent so far. 25th of October, obviously Black Ops 6. But not only that, we've got Sonic Shadows Generations for PC, PlayStation. And remember, part of it, or all of it, I can't quite remember, is actually voiced by Keanu Reeves for the movie tie-in segment for the Sonic game. Yes.
I've forgotten about that.
I'm not sure if it was part of it or all of it, but there is some sort of Keanu Reeves tie-in to the film that's coming out in December. Is that right? December? I think so. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that's that. So the 20th of October, I was having to scroll through some of the games coming soon, releasing on Steam to see if there's anything different, something new that people might want to pick up. Moon Mystery, PC single-player story-driven adventure game where you play as an astronaut and you will discover the biggest mankind mystery. So it's a space single-player game for those people that like that sort of stuff. Might want to check it out. It looks pretty good. 28th of October. And then, finally, we have 31st of October for Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, PC and PlayStation, and Dragon Age the Veilguard for PC, Xbox and PlayStation. And yet again, Horizon Zero Dawn has the Horizon Zero Dawn curse of releasing it on a day of something else that's fairly big, which is obviously Dragon Age. They keep doing this, and it just... I don't know why. Also, I don't really think that Horizon Zero Dawn needs a remaster. So it was probably a couple of years ago. It was on my wish list. Somebody bought it for me for my Christmas, and I played it not too long ago. It might have been 2022 or 2023, something like that. But it still looked pretty damn good back then. And I'm thinking, yes, the original game came out on PlayStation probably 5-6 years ago, maybe. And then obviously a few years later, it came to Steam. But I don't feel it needs a remaster. But although,
it came came out on the 28th of February 2017.
2017.
It's what, 7 years old?
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
See, PC, I think it would be 3 or 4 years old now.
Okay.
Because it was a lot later.
Oh, was it like a delayed release?
Really it wasn't like a 1-year exclusive, then it came to PC sort of thing that they're doing now, because I think that was one of the early ports that they started to do, but they took their time on it. But I also think this remaster is to do with the new PS5 Pro, so it might be to do with that, where they've sort of adjusted things for the new tech for the PlayStation Pro. That is your release summary and your gaming releases roundup for October 2024. All right, Joe, would you like to talk about Halo?
I would love to talk about Halo. Halo is, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but Halo is probably one of my favorite franchises out there. I spent many, many hours on Halo growing up, so it always has a special place in my heart, and I've obviously played every single game. There has been some big development news for Halo as a franchise, and I thought we'd touch on a few of those points today and talk about some of the things that are going on. So first of all, 343 Industries, I was going to say publisher, they're not the publisher.
Studio.
They are the studio. Thank you very much. Words escape me today. The studio that took over after Bungie kind of wrapped up what they were doing and Microsoft passed it on to their in-house team. 343 Industries is who took that over. They have rebranded to Halo Studios. I'll be honest, Tom, I don't understand why the rebrand. Because if they're trying to shake off the name because they're not happy with some of the things that have happened, everyone knows 343 has become Halo Studios.
Yeah, there's obviously a very specific reason. When it comes to rebrands, you need to have a reason. There needs to be an aim, because obviously as a graphic designer, when you ask somebody, if someone approaches you and you say, I want to rebrand, you sort of think, why? What are you trying to achieve? Is there a problem you're trying to solve with that rebrand?
Yeah.
So it might be just the case of they're just going to specifically specialize just in Halo, rather than being just 343 where they could do any IP. I don't know if they've worked on or done any other games.
That's what I was just thinking, because 343 is, well, it's actually the number of Guilty Spark, so it is a direct reference to Halo. I'm just trying to work out if they've developed anything else.
Because, I mean, they might have supported something else that Microsoft has done. We don't know.
No, they haven't. It's just the Halo games.
I mean, there's as far as we can tell, there's no explanation why they've rebranded.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems very much, and a lot of the comments I'm seeing online is it's very much a marketing exercise, because they got a lot of hate for Halo 5, and people aren't particularly happy that they basically promised all this stuff, including story DLC and all this for Halo Infinite, saying it's going to be the next Halo for like the next 10 years or something, and then that's been dropped. There's no team working on more content for Halo Infinite, or certainly not story-based content, and a lot of the features that they said would come in down the line have also quietly been dropped, and there's no one working on it anymore. And these are things that have been picked up within the community in some of the layoffs and some of the movements internally. But yeah, it's very clear that Halo Infinite, which was supposed to last, is now kind of done with, and they've put that to one side. So little bit strange. A lot of people are questioning what they're doing and what their decisions are. I must admit, I'm not that bothered with everything. Personally, I've enjoyed what's come out. I didn't enjoy Halo Infinite as much, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, the rebrand very much seems to be a marketing exercise. They're changing from one name to another, try and dispel some of the negative attitudes. I'm not sure it's going to work, but hey, we'll see. Next big thing that I wanted to talk about, and is probably the more interesting thing, is they are switching to Unreal Engine 5. So future Halo projects will be built on Unreal Engine 5. They're abandoning the Slipspace engine to improve development efficiency, speed, and quality. The Slipspace engine, for those of you not in the know, was what they used to develop, I think, Halo Infinite.
Right.
I think they used something different prior to that, so it was developed for Halo Infinite. But yeah, they've decided to move away from that and use Unreal Engine 5. Arguably a good decision, because I mean, it's a very well developed engine. It gives a lot of flexibility, a lot of options, a lot that they can work with. I mean, for me, as I say, I didn't really enjoy Infinite anyway, so I kind of want that core Halo experience back. I mean, my first Halo was Halo 3. I love that. I look back on that as kind of not necessarily my peak experience, but what I think of as Halo. And Halo Infinite felt very different from that. So what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout way is I'd like to go back a little bit to that more simple shooter. I think I enjoy that more. One of the other things that they have announced is they're working on multiple new Halo games. There's a few different games in development at the moment, different projects. It's enabling simultaneous projects with Unreal Engine, facilitating faster updates and content delivery. This is quite interesting because it means that there's potentially a couple of games on the horizon. Obviously, Master Chief's story is the core of Halo, and it's the main thing that we've been following. So I hope that there is a Halo 7 in the works, whatever name it comes under. But it also makes me think of some of the other projects that they've worked on, like Halo Reach, that obviously focused on another team of Spartans, Halo 3 ODST. It was obviously a prelude to Halo 3, but focusing on the ODSTs, it told a story from a very different perspective, and it's one of the best loved games of the franchise because of how differently it approaches the lore, but obviously is very true to it. Yeah, I don't know, it's brilliant. The other thing that they've obviously worked on is Halo Wars, developed and put out in the past. That's a real-time strategy game. So they have other things in their remit, their hamper to choose from. Could we be seeing something else like these games, or something new entirely, or are all of them going to be parts of the Master Chief story? We just don't know. It's too early to really tell, but I think something interesting to keep an eye on. Next thing is a cultural shift in the development process. So there's a new approach which focuses more on simplifying workflows, allowing the developers to concentrate on game creation rather than engine maintenance. I suppose this is one of the benefits they get from Unreal 5. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it feels like that wasn't so much of a problem in earlier games in the franchise. Is it just because they developed Slipspace for Infinite and they tried to introduce a lot of new mechanics? I don't know. But again, it'll be interesting to see how they play around with that and what kind of that results in, I suppose is what I'm getting at. And then one of the benefits of Unreal Engine, of course, is Unreal's advanced technologies like Nanite and Lumen, which allow for richer environments and quicker talent onboarding due to industry familiarity. These are big names in the industry. As we said at the start, Unreal Engine 5 is probably one of the best known, best developed engines out there. Or not best, but well developed engines.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people working on it, a lot of people using it, and people obviously share that within the community.
And anybody can use it. I can use it.
Yeah.
In fact, I have it downloaded. Yeah, you know, anyone can go in and make their own game from. It's the same with Unity and some of these other engines out there where you can
It's one of the biggest names in the industry, isn't it? I think it's probably fair to say.
Yeah, I think for particularly for people coming into being an indie dev, it's very good because obviously it's got these blueprints that you can also have as well, which is more of a simplified version of programming. But that's not to say that it's not any harder or any difficult, because they can be very, very complex.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more easier for somebody that doesn't have a huge amount of programming knowledge, but they can make a game out of it. So if you're an artistic person, you can produce a game that's relatively decent. But then again, in a programmer's hands, it's, you know, they can absolutely make something incredible as well. But also the graphics as well are great. Obviously, what I have is Unreal Engine 4, but which is a slight, obviously, downgrade. But Unreal Engine 5 is pushing the boundaries of some of the new technologies like Nanite and Lumen.
Touching back on Nanite and Lumen, Tom, you've very helpfully written down an explanation for me.
I have, yes.
Because, like probably many people at home, I didn't know what these were. Yeah,
so I had a feeling people wouldn't really know. So there's an explanation for you. Yeah. Yeah,
so Nanite, my notes here say that this technology makes it easier for games to show highly detailed objects and environments without slowing down performance. One way to think of it is as a super efficient way for the game to handle huge amounts of visual data, like intricate rocks, buildings, or characters, without needing as much computing power. So, from the sounds of it, in layman's terms, it's taking a lot of that performance off of your computer by simplifying that process.
While having the graphics look pretty good as well.
Yeah, so I suppose it's taken that performance off.
So Nanite's more
without
the
diminishing
graphics area of things, yeah.
Yeah. Lumen is Unreal's advanced lighting system. It makes lighting in games look more realistic by simulating how light bounces around in real life. For example, light will change based on time of day or how it reflects off surfaces, making things feel more immersive and dynamic. I can't remember if we talked about this before on the podcast, but we've certainly talked about it between ourselves. Lighting is so important for games.
Yeah.
Or anything really, any kind of media. Lighting is so important because it's important to atmosphere, it's important to delivery. It makes worlds feel alive, and if you get it wrong, it can be a real big problem for that immersion factor.
Yeah. Now,
Go on.
Yeah, as someone that started learning some 3D modeling this year, as you've seen some of the stuff I've sort of done.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Lumen's familiar stuff that's also in potentially Blender as well, because that's what I started learning.
Okay.
And, you get to do things with materials and how much reflection it is. And reflection is probably the most important thing when it comes to lighting, because everything reflects something. And that's what makes the games more realistic. Obviously, you don't overdo the reflections of stuff, but really the reflections make it more real rather than having everything flat. If everything's flat, it looks more like a video game, versus if it has more reflections of all this light bouncing off all this kind of stuff. My pop filter, for example, on my mic, right? It's not very shiny. It's not very shiny. It's a dull thing. It will be a dull material because that's what it is. It's not going to reflect that much light, but it's still going to reflect something, not completely nothing, versus something that would be chrome would reflect a lot of light. So that's something in 3D modeling that people do, which, some people 3D model in Blender and stuff like that and then bring it into a video game. So creating things like materials and stuff like that, you've got a level of reflection, and that's sort of Unreal's Lumen system to a more advanced level sort of thing.
Yeah, so certainly good things. I think it's promising for the future of Halo. Talking of which, let's just touch on a couple more points that they made in this announcement. So Project Foundry, it is a research project which is validating Unreal for Halo, showcasing new biomes. Some of the ones that they showed off was the Pacific Northwest, Coldlands and Blightlands, while staying true, to the Halo aesthetic. I will say the biomes that they showed off looked very much like classic Halo, but modernized, I guess is the right word. It has that feel from older Halo games, like we said with Halo 3 Reach, Halo 2 even, but it feels like it's brought it more up to today's standards. And if they're using that as kind of a proof of concept almost, I like that, because it shows that they're trying to recapture that feeling, and that's, to me at least, that's quite important. There is also a focus on Halo's core identity, ensuring that new games retain Halo's iconic elements, the combat feel, the physics, Master Chief's movements, and the lore. I said at the start, this is one of the most important things for me. I feel like it lost some of that with Halo Infinite, because they obviously introduced some new mechanics and changed things around, but I feel like it lost a little bit of what Halo is. And I like that, or at least the way I'm reading and understanding that, is that they're, almost recognizing that, and they're trying to take it back a step and recapture what made Halo such a great and iconic franchise. It is one of the great franchises of gaming history, I think is fair to say. Would you agree, Tom?
Yeah.
It's, everyone knows Halo. Everyone's played a little bit of Halo. It's just one of those games, I think. And yeah, like I say, going back to the point, nice that they're trying to recapture that a little bit. There is a new development philosophy as well they talked about. So Halo Studios emphasizes listening to player feedback, creating games based on what fans want, and fostering a collaborative player-focused culture. That's really important. People have been giving feedback for years, and I know a lot of the comments are that people feel like 343 weren't listening to some of the feedback people were giving, and what people wanted to see in the next Halo. So it's nice that they're listening to that and they're going to be taking that on board. I think it's important to add and to note that, you know, they can't take on board everything. They can't do everything that people request. So please keep that in mind when you're waiting to hear about the next Halo.
That's the thing with every single game studio. I think all studios should listen to their feedback, but at the end of the day, it's their game. They have a vision for the game.
Yeah.
But there needs to be this balance between collating the community feedback and what maybe the fans want and what they want as devs. Because as devs, they also will probably be fans. Not every dev will be, but some will be really into that franchising and into that sort of world. And so they will want a game that they want to make that's for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this isn't just apply to Halo, although it is very much applicable to it, but it's to every single game. And I think there is too many developers that are a little bit too stubborn to be like, actually, this is our game. We're doing it as we please, and not really, because you are making a game for a community that's going to play it. And if your community doesn't like it, they're going to tell you. Well, they might just go and play something else. Case in point, Concord.
Yes.
Because obviously that got shut down, whatever. Because it wasn't very good. Yeah, that's obviously a very extreme point of view, but my point still stands that I think every dev needs to have that little bit of a balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think balance is absolutely the right word for that. It is very much finding a balance between taking on board player feedback and looking at what people are requesting and what they're saying they'd like to see across the community, but understanding and understanding from us as players as well that they physically cannot do everything that everyone wants.
Yeah.
You know, some things just won't fit the game. They won't work mechanically. It might not fit the vision because it clashes with another project or something they'd like to do down the line. You know, we have to remember these things as players, because I know, because we all do it, as players, we get carried away at times.
Yeah.
We go, I want this thing and I want it now. And because we get excited about it, we get louder and then more people join in and suddenly becomes a little bit, I'm going to say mob attitude, because people start banding together. It's important to remember. Go on.
I was going to say, because that also brings up some negativity sometimes, but also, like, majority of people sometimes I think are very vocally negative online, but the people that are enjoying what they're seeing aren't very vocal online. They tend to be quieter, and so the general consensus of sometimes in a game is you're getting all this negative attention on social media, but actually there's a lot of people that actually like the game, but just they're just not saying anything. But the people that are louder are always going to be the negative ones, because that's going to bring in controversy and they're doing this and that's a controversial topic or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. A lot of people like to, I think we're a little bit like this ourselves. Certainly I am now. Some people just like to sit and play a game. They're enjoying it, they carry on playing because they're enjoying it. Don't need to say anything about it because they're playing. But yeah, you know, like I say, it all comes back to balance. Good that they're trying to incorporate things. We also need to remember as players and as fans that, you know, they can't do everything, and they're not going to put everything in that we asked for. But if they're trying, I think that's a good sign and a good step forwards. The next thing was quiet development. This is something I see a lot more, not just in gaming, but in various industries now, is that the studio will focus on creating quality games before teasing details and avoiding over-promising. I see that shift a lot with, you know, in various industries now, where studios have for some years now said, "Yep, we're going to do this and that, and da 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 da, and we're going to throw in all of these features, and this is how the game's going to end up." And then it gets to release, and they go, "Yeah, so we've had to cut 90% of that list because we just couldn't do it. So here's the 10% that we could do, and here's a working game." And everyone goes, "Oh, well, I'm disappointed now because you told me we were getting all that stuff." Actually, Halo Infinite is an example of that. We were promised story DLC that would come out. The end of the game teased some of that story, or what we thought was going to be the story DLC that came along. And now they've let that team go, and they're not doing it. They've decided they're not going to pursue that. They're just doing multiplayer updates.
Yeah, this goes back to a point that I mentioned, I don't know when, but it was a while ago on the podcast. I said about when they're teasing something, when they're doing trailers, they should do it maximum 2 years in advance. Rather than, unless it's an open development project like Star Citizen, that's a bit different. Because they obviously showcase everything they do. But for a majority which is closed development, we really shouldn't be seeing too much until maximum probably 2 years away. A little teaser. That's what Rockstar did with GTA 6. We've had a bit of a teaser, which was last year, and obviously it's coming next year. Obviously, people are going to be impatient when it comes to GTA and that franchise, but that's one of the examples, and one of the bad examples, which I think was my point from last time, which was the Star Wars Eclipse game, because obviously they teased that, and we've heard absolutely nothing from it. And I think this was when we last discussed this a few months ago. This exact thing of saying, why is it being teased or stuff like that, or it clearly has had issues or something like that. I think it needs to be almost ready before saying, "Hey, here's our game. Here's a teaser. A few months later, here's another one. Oh, here's a release date."
Yeah, more development, and I understand there is an element of needing to drum up interest because that keeps investors happy, because they see, my money's going to a good project that has a lot of support behind it, and it's going to make me money. There's
also a thing of publishers need to hit deadlines and cost criteria and all that kind of stuff, and
there's the money side, and I think that's where a little bit of this comes from. But I do think, that's been the philosophy for a number of years now, and I think the developers and the publishers probably a little bit as well are starting to realise that actually if they announce it closer to release, there's less backlash when things are dropped, because it's part of the development process at the end of the day. Yes, you create this long list of things that you'd like to do, but then as you go through development, you go, well, look, we're never going to get that in. That's not going to work with what we've built so far. It's just not going to work anymore. That was a pipe dream, so we'll cut all those things out. But obviously with them announcing things so early, we're seeing all those things get dropped, and it's creating... Tom, would you say it's fair to say resentment?
I'd say so, yeah.
A little bit of resentment in people because they're expecting one thing and getting something else. And I just think, again, going back to the point, I think trying to announce things closer to release is going to help mitigate some of those issues. I think it's a good move. Personally, I think it's a good move. It might be more time between seeing updates about what's in development, but I'm kind of okay with that. Finally, the sort of the last thing they announced is support for Halo Infinite will continue. Whilst future games are in development, they'll continue to provide support for Halo Infinite, including updates and esports events. As we said, this has already been announced. This is obviously multiplayer only, but there's a fair following, I think, for Halo Infinite. It may not be my favourite game in the franchise, but obviously a lot of people are enjoying it. And it's good that they're going to continue to receive updates, and even if it's cosmetic content, as well as bug fixing and things like that, that's good.
Yeah.
It's good that they're continuing to support that title as it's the current title.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tom, any final thoughts on Halo Studios?
Not really. I've only dipped my toes into Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've mentioned this to you before. I have the Master Chief Collection, which was bought for me.
Yeah.
So I bought. I've only played the first few stuff. I've played Reach. I might have played a little bit of maybe 2 or 3 is where I'm up to, something like that. So I'm still very early on. I'm not as invested as everybody else because obviously I haven't continued to finish anything because I was actually doing a playthrough with some of my friends who are big Halo fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously I was part of that era where Halo was big, but I didn't have the console to have Halo.
Of course.
Remember, right at the start of the podcast, you said about Red Dead Redemption, me not having a 360. Yeah. That obviously goes into that as well, because obviously while everybody else started their gaming journeys early on in their life with first-person shooters, I started with simulators and racing games, so I didn't play Call of Duty early on, I didn't play Halo early on with all the early games, but I've got to it a lot later with some of either the later games. For COD it was Cold War. For Halo, it was, the fact that I've got the Master Chief Collection, the fact that I can play the older games now on modern hardware, which is, great. Because obviously the nostalgia factor that other people have, I'm experiencing for the first time. But, yeah. I
do think it's good, though, that it's kind of a good sign for Halo as a franchise that you can pick it up now and be like, oh wow, yeah, I see why everyone enjoyed this.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a controversial mission, but the memorable one was the survive mission in Reach. I think that's probably the most infamous mission of them all. Because obviously I've heard my friends reference it and stuff over the years, and it's like now I've experienced it. Oh yeah, I get it. And sometimes I get to sort of reference it because sometimes other games do this sort of similar aspect of this sort of survive thing as far as you can, and yeah, it felt like a very poignant end to that story, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, I think that's all we've got to say about Halo. Quite a few things there to mull over, but let's move on, as all things must. Tom, you'd like to talk about Assetto Corsa Evo. I can see the grin.
Yes! Okay, Assetto Corsa Evo on the 30th of September. So, literally just past the past podcast. We got a trailer. It's been teased. It's been teased on what?
Didn't that trailer come out like the day after we uploaded the podcast?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
We uploaded it and then we were like, yeah.
Okay. I think it was the 26th when 25th. No, 26th.
Oh, okay, so just after.
26th was your birthday, isn't it?
It was, yes.
Because we said the podcast was in between. So yeah, it would have been the 25th.
Oh, okay, so it would have been a few days after.
It was a few days after, yeah. It's been teased before. It's been teased in Assetto Corsa Competizione, the sort of spin-off GT racing game. And we got a trailer. And it is very exciting. I'm not going to put you in suspense for those people that are or don't know. We've got a date. Oh, yes. We have a date. This is going into early access on Steam on the 16th of January, 2025. We don't have too much longer to wait until we can have our hands on that game. So there's sort of two aspects I want to cover here. There is the ADAC Sim Racing Expo I want to sort of cover, but I also want to cover some of the stuff in the trailer first fairly quickly. I'm going to obviously whack it up on the video version of the podcast for you to watch. But some of the highlights, some things what we saw was an interior G meter on the Alpine A110. 24-hour day to night cycle, dynamic weather system, and very excitingly, public roads and traffic. We've got free roam. Now, when Joe watched this trailer the first time, he didn't notice this, but I went through and I watched it another, and I was like, wait a minute, what's that? So I go and fine-tune it to exact frame, and we see the Morgan three-wheeler going one way, and another car, I think it's a BMW, going the other way. I was like, wait a minute, that's free roam. They've added free roam into the game, and they absolutely have. And there are some people that are sim racers that are including, I don't know if you've heard of him, Jimmy Broadbent. Heard of him?
I have not.
No, okay. Well, Jimmy Broadbent, sim racer, YouTuber, now races on the Nordschleife in a BMW. So
wow.
That's the series he now sort of he races in, and he's like he wasn't the only one, but he's just one of the people I'm giving an example with. It was like, I recognise those roads. Those roads are next to Nords because he's driven them IRL to get to the Nordschleife. So we think, it's not confirmed, obviously, this is all speculation on sort of geo-guessing everything of the fact that it's potentially going to be the roads beside the Nordschleife. Yeah. So what I'm going to also go through is the cars and tracks. Now, what I'm going to go through is basically all the cars and tracks that is sort of confirmed thus far, from because obviously we have the Steam page, screenshots and stuff like that. So some of these were in the trailer, some weren't. Tracks so far: Brands Hatch, Nürburgring, plus obviously the Nordschleife bit, the entire thing, Imola, and Fuji Speedway. Now, while we're still on the discussion of tracks, just remember, they have still the tracks from the original Assetto Corsa, but they also have the more up-to-date stuff from Assetto Corsa Competizione. So they have all the stuff from the GT Challenge, including British GT, and so there's some American circuits, because there was like Watkins Glen, they've got COTA. Obviously, Nordschleife was the latest track that they've done for ACC. Now, that was in Unreal Engine 5. I'll get to this in a minute, but they're going back to their own inbuilt engine now.
Okay.
So they would have to convert that back again. But just think about all the tracks that they have in ACC. You know, they've got Donington Park, they've got Alton Park, they've got Barcelona, they've got Spa. You know, all the tracks that you would mainly expect, or any that are people that are familiar with the GT racing, the Fanatec GT series. So yeah, so they've probably got a whole lot more roster, and they just want to sort of tease us with 4 tracks thus far. Yeah. So as for the cars, you can expect some Alfa Romeos, some Alpines. I've mentioned the A110, and there's the A290 concept as well. There's the BMW M4 in there, the CSL. There's the Ford Fiesta ST Mark 8.5. There's the Ferrari 296 GTB, as well as the Daytona SP3. There's the F40, the Hyundai i20, and the Ioniq 5N, and the Envision. The Lamborghini Huracan STO, Lotus Emira, McLaren 765 LT. Just for you, Joe, there's some Mercedes here. There's a 190E. There's a AMG GT2. There's an SL AMG GT.
Cars.
I've obviously mentioned the Morgan Super 3-wheeler. There's also the Rover Mini Cooper, or the classic Mini Cooper, as I like to, or I think majority of people just say classic Mini Cooper, don't they? We've got a few Porsches as well, the 911, the Turbo, and the GT3, and Mark 1 and Mark 8 Golfs as well, GTIs. Yeah. So we've got quite a selection so far, but that's only 25 cars roughly that we've got thus far. And 4 tracks. So quite a selection, as you might be able to tell from that trailer. But wait, I have more to talk about, because ADAC Sim Racing Expo happens roughly every year, and it was very recently. In fact, it was basically happening at the same time as CitizenCon, actually, roughly. And there was an Assetto Corsa panel with the devs. Not only that,
Oh.
Assetto Corsa Evo had a live demo. So you were able, if you were in Dortmund at the Sim Racing Expo, you were able to play Assetto Corsa early. And I've seen some clips. Although they can't record that, I think they weren't allowed to record. Well, not weren't allowed, just couldn't record the sound or something. So you've got these sort of more phone clips of people driving on the rigs. Yeah. It looks pretty damn good, I must admit. It looks pretty good. From what we can tell, it feels good, it sounds good. So, during this panel, there was some questions and answers. There was a bit of discussion about what's happening with it. So we got some more info, which is exciting. As I mentioned earlier, brand new engine with dynamic weather, dynamic tracks. That's how they phrase it, dynamic tracks. I'm thinking maybe it's more of the rubber and the water and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they have confirmed free roam. Free roam based on their new terrain technology allows to manage a big map of hundreds of kilometers of roads. That's almost a paraphrase, by the way. The devs did say hundreds of kilometers of roads. That's how big, potentially, we're getting of a free roam map. In relation to physics, due to good relations with the car manufacturers, they have combined supplied car data, which is usual. We've also been able to drive these cars on track and roads to better match the real counterpart with the virtual one.
Oh.
So they've got all the information that they could possibly need this time. They've done some maximum attention to VR on triple screen, which is confirmed, by the way, to be in the first build of early access. So if you're somebody that uses VR or triple screen, it's already supported for you. They sort of were in response to a lot of comments saying, because they saw there was a lot of the Porsche GT3 in the trailer, wasn't there? And people were a bit concerned, is it going to be a bit more racing focused? But they said no. It's going to be any kind of cars. It's going to be stock cars to racing cars, prototypes, Formula 1, vintage. Basically anything and everything is going to be included. And the next they sort of touched on rethinking sim racing. So what they wanted out of Assetto Corsa Evo was the possibility for people to enjoy a different way to enjoy Assetto Corsa Evo. Not just on the track, but also on the road, as there are some cars that are great to drive but not eligible for the track. And the example they gave was the Morgan Super 3-wheeler, which is sort of understandable, and the reason why they put it in the free roam section of the trailer.
Yeah.
And they've also made it so you can enjoy any car in AC Evo, no matter if it is more of a stock street car or it's a racing car. And in this, they're trying to broaden their audience, but at the same time, they're not making the game easier. They're not making it simcade. They're making it still a full simulation.
Yeah.
And they've collected ideas and suggestions from the way that they've seen people enjoy modding. And the exact examples that they said was the LA Canyon and the Tokyo Highway, which is obviously referencing the Shikoku Revival project.
Yeah.
So they've seen that people really enjoy Assetto Corsa in a different way. And they want to do the same, not through the modding, but through the content generated and creating the game that is based on real data and locations that would be connected with the life of petrol heads. And they're not going to include scenarios that are boring for a petrol head or a car enthusiast. They want you all to be excited and into whatever they're going to be putting in. So, as we know, Assetto Corsa modding has sort of carried the game. I don't think it would be alive right now if it wasn't for modding, because we've got all these different mods for graphics and cars and tracks and making things look so much better, because obviously the default UI is a bit horrible to navigate. That's why we've got obviously the content manager and stuff like that has just completely transformed the way that Assetto Corsa has been. And yeah, I think it's a good direction they're sort of going in that. And by the way, they started this 4 years ago, designed from scratch with a different structure to support the game for many years.
Wow.
4 years ago. So that was roughly in 2020 when they started this project. And I'm going to do an exact quote here. They want to expand the game, possibly forever. Yeah, they want to basically just keep updating, not have another sequel, and just keep going. And they also they touched on career. They don't want to just create a career, but something that's the RPG for the car enthusiasts and petrol heads. You know, some will want to collect different models, some will want to drive on track, some will want to drive on the road, some will want to tune, customize. And AC Evo will allow you to do all of those things. And they want to move away from a scripted career experience. They sort of admitted that it wasn't their strong suit in the simulators, but they want to have an entire experience with progress and a game economy system to be as simple as it can. But it will help players enter the game with a budget, choose the first car with total freedom, and can play and accumulate experience and virtual currency. And they had to intervene here and say, just in game, no microtransactions. So it's all earned in game.
That's good.
So then, once you've collated enough currency, you can then buy the cars you want. And if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Because, you know, if you don't want to tune, you don't want to customize, that's fine. You can just buy cars or collect them and drive them on track however you want. There's no sort of forced experience. And you can have a more sandbox experience if that's what you want, but you'd have to rent the cars instead of buying them. Because the disadvantage to renting is you can't customize them. Because they want you owning the car is all about making it your car, rather than just a car that you just buy and everybody has. And it will go deeper than visual customization. So there's potentially going to be probably engine stuff and performance stuff potentially here. The next thing that they announced was they're partnering up with SimGrid with Kunos to support the vision for multiplayer. It means that Kunos can focus on the game development with the mechanics, etc., and using SimGrid for the experience and skill. So it's not exclusive with SimGrid, but to create an ecosystem. For those people that don't know what SimGrid is, I'm assuming you are one of these people.
I am.
SimGrid is almost like a little portal. All these sim games where there's loads of them. Not just SimGrid. There's Grid Finder and there's the likes of LFM and stuff like that. It's basically a portal for everybody to organize multiplayer sessions, whether it's public or private. So it's one portal. If it includes mods, like if it was for Assetto Corsa, the original, it would tell you what mods you would have. There's one join link. It's not overly complex, but it's all through the browser. So it's this portal to bring multiplayer together a bit easier. So SimGrid sort of is a bit of an expert. So in that sense, they want to create an ecosystem, but something that's open. Because somebody asked from the sort of audience, said, because they were from a different one, and they said, would it be just restricted to SimGrid? Because some leagues and some other organizations use a particular sort of one of these elements that organize these multiplayer. They said no, it's going to be completely open for everything and any sort of organization or league. So you don't need to worry about that. And what the devs also said was they want to make it so you never leave Evo, even when you don't use Evo. Which is a sort of interesting quote, because that might just mean companion app or something on the lines of that on your phone or something like that, maybe.
Right.
Which could be cool to see, depending on, you know, what that sort of feature would be. They're also wanting to change how they manage service, so always server-centric, no peer-to-peer. They mentioned how they wanted to prevent the no-lifers from ruining the experience from DDoS attacks and cheating and stuff like that. So that's a good positive as well. And this entire sort of upgrade customization system for the cars is an interconnected system with whatever you choose to play. So your modified Alpine would be used for all different modes, no matter what it is. But there will be a different version for esports, which has been removed, but everyone's home experience will be interconnected. So if you upgraded a car in multiplayer, or for multiplayer, it would also be reflected in single player as well. That
Oh,
sort of
okay.
thing. Yeah, and they'll be showing more expanding on some of this in the coming weeks. So some of the stuff they were sort of vague about, particularly about the car customization, or they said it will go deeper than visual customization when asked about customization. I think they sort of want to wait and sort of reveal stuff as time goes on up to January, I think, which is sort of understandable. Yeah, but all of this new extra information, I didn't think we were getting. I didn't think we were going to be getting an AC panel at this at the Sim Racing Expo. I didn't think we would get the sort of the demo at the expo as well. So it's quite cool just seeing everything. Just we're seeing more just a few weeks after they did a trailer, because I was expecting, we're not going to hear anything for a while now. That's kept us busy for a little bit. But yeah, I'm thinking this is sounding really good. They want to sort of expand. I know some people have been sort of comparing it to Gran Turismo a little bit with the sort of career progression stuff.
Yeah, because I can see that.
I sort of agree with how they're rethinking sim racing. You know, usually it's a game where it's more sandbox. You just dive in to a race and that's really it. But they want you to earn your cars. They want you to customize them and be yours. And I really like that. And from what I've seen from people playing and the YouTubers sort of first impressions and stuff and talking about it after they've been there is really great. You know, it's looking good. And I think it's going to be a good one. I don't know what you think of all this.
I'm liking the sound of a lot of it. The only thing that I'm not sure on, and I suppose it's kind of what I'm waiting to see how it works, is the whole you have to buy cars and then you can upgrade them. I just like the sandboxiness of, Assetto Corsa is the one that I'm playing. I like that openness, and you can just jump in a car and pick a track and go drive. It may work. It may be that the renting system is absolutely fine, and I'm sure you know what I'm thinking about in terms of content ideas. I'm sure it will be fine, but obviously that's what my mind is going on. And I just wonder how that'll work without the truly sandbox experience. I'll probably still give it a go at some point because I like a racing game anyway. And I don't necessarily have anything against an unlock system or a progression system or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. With it being so sandboxy, it makes me wonder why they've taken that away. But there's a lot of things to be excited about. I'm liking the sound of pretty much everything else. So I'm so excited to see more about this, and I will certainly be watching whatever trailers and stuff that come up, and I'm sure you will be sending me.
Just on that, I think from what I've gathered from the information that they gave was, you're still going to have that sandbox experience no matter what. It's just that you rent the cars instead of anything else, which, to be fair, isn't as different as just selecting a car now, is it? Yeah,
but that they're using the word rent makes me think I'm going to have to pay some cost of the in-game currency to use it for so long. If that's the case, that means I've got to be playing to earn the currency to continue playing with these cars.
See, I get where you're thinking with this, but
you see what I'm going with.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I also think the word rent doesn't necessarily mean a currency may be involved. It's just that there is some restriction, as it said. There's going to be no customization. They might allow you to change maybe just the base color and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And stuff like that. But I think, I know it's not a particularly great racing game from recent, but I am going to bring up Forza Motorsport. When you rent in Forza Motorsport, you don't actually pay anything. It doesn't cost you anything.
Okay.
I have a feeling they will go with that route.
Do something similar. Yeah.
Because if you don't have a car for particular events or whatever, in Forza, it's just, obviously that has the car PG leveling up system. You won't level up in that game. And obviously the drawback in Assetto Corsa Evo is going to be the sort of, you can't customize it the way that you want to entirely, which, I think is fine, and it won't be owned by you. It's just temporary. So that's why I think it's all right, because they did say they wanted to, approach both audiences, people that like free roam, hence the addition to these free roam maps, which is going to be really cool as well. The fact that they've looked at modding. I don't think there's many game developers that have said, well, we've looked at that, our own modding community from our previous thing, and said, we'll implement that. They've really had a look at what's really popular, because, Assetto Corsa is really, really popular. And I'm even going to try and get the stats up right now on steam.db, just to prove a point here. As I do, I haven't got this up beforehand, because I've only just thought of doing this. So stand by. Yeah, here we go. Players right now, at the time of recording, 10,000 for what is a 10-year-old game. I think it came out in December. I can't remember when it actually released. Will it tell me on here? Probably. Somewhere. No. It was just 10 years ago. Doesn't matter. It was roughly 2014. Yeah, it was 10 years ago. December. Yeah. 10 years ago.
Just another thing that I thought of, from all that information. The new terrain technology.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got this free roam element now. Are we just going to be restricted to roads? Is there going to be an off-road element? Does this mean that there's going to be more use for off-road cars? It just makes me wonder how deep they're going to go into that, because when you say new terrain technology, they're just using that for roads. Feels like they're not using it to its fullest potential.
Yeah, I do feel that it might be just establishing the more sort of dips, turns, hills, and stuff for mainstream tracks, but also for the maybe more the twisty, turny roads and stuff that go up and down, that sort of thing. Maybe. I don't see them doing that much off-road stuff. I know there are some mods that have some sort of dirt tracks and stuff. I know there's that new big is it the Portugal or Barcelona Spanish map or something like that that's come out that has a bit of that for original Assetto Corsa. So I don't know if that would be a thing. I wouldn't expect it initially from launch, because remember, this is early access. They're not going to have everything from January 16th.
Yeah.
Because obviously, early access, the whole point of early access is to collect feedback from the community. Which, I sort of get why they want to do that, because obviously, them coming to that expo, they even said that they were a bit nervous because they didn't know what the live sort of audience reaction is going to be, because they know how beloved Assetto Corsa is going to be.
Of course.
I almost expect them to do an early access game. And by the way, they are a relatively small team, and they've done a really big success with this. So the fact that they've been able to do this is great. But yeah, I think the community feedback is going to be really important, and particularly January 16th is going to be very important for them. As long as they can get it right off the bat. But from what I've seen from social media, from all the content creators, it's very positive from what they've all been saying. Not to mention, I don't think it's really established yet. Of me saying dynamic weather now is very much a given for today's sort of games. But remember, the original Assetto Corsa doesn't have dynamic weather or a day-to-night cycle or stuff like that. You have to mod it. Remember?
That is true.
To get rain, you've got to pay for the Content Manager preview Patreon. And to get all the graphics and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's the weather-free stuff through Soul and stuff like that. Or if you want to pay for something like I did, Pure, which is looks pretty good. And I think this is just obviously a stepping stone at some point for some people that will be going from Assetto Corsa to Assetto Corsa Evo. Whether that's from early access or down the line or whatever. It depends what we get come early access. But going back to those 25 cars and those 4 tracks, if they just came out with 25 cars and 4 tracks, I don't think I'll be that mad. I want more tracks probably, but obviously that's all we've seen thus far. I think the 25 cars can definitely set everybody off going with stuff. But I have a feeling they'll have a bigger roster come early access. I have a feeling.
Well, I must admit, the 25 cars, just going through that list, doesn't seem like the greatest variety. There is some variety in there. Yeah. But I'm not seeing anything major. But it does make me think, if they're saying they want this to be, you know, whether it's the last Assetto Corsa and they just keep putting content into that, or, you know, whatever it is, or if it lasts for a long time, my hope is that they release lots of content that adds to that. Whether that's more tracks or more cars or bundles or whatever it is. Whether they do some free updates or some DLC or a mix of the two. I just hope that they put more in. I don't know. Personally, I like variety. Variety is the spice of life. I like options, and I like being able to bounce between different things. But as you say, I mean, we'll see more. There's also the early access on the 16th of January. I imagine we probably won't see all of that on the 16th. But hopefully by that point we'll be getting more of an idea of what's coming down the line and what will look more like at release.
Yeah, that was more of a scenario point of view of me saying, what if they did release it with just all that? You know, I don't think I would be that mad about it, but I imagine they'll definitely put some more tracks in than just 4 of them. Probably,
I hope so.
Probably even going to have a free run map in there as well. And as someone that does play Assetto Corsa Evo, I know that they do take their time on updates and creating cars and creating tracks, but the quality that they bring out is very high.
They take time, but it's time well spent
from each sort of thing. Because remember, they've been pumping out Assetto Corsa Evo content while they've been making Assetto Corsa Evo. So it's sort of understandable why some of these updates, particularly Nordschleifer, when they're making Nordschleifer for ACC, has taken as long as it has, because they've also been trying to make AC Evo. But I am excited for this. I'm probably going to get it on the 16th. Let's be honest, because I just cannot wait for this. It does look good. I just can't wait.
I'd be surprised if you didn't, Tom.
I can't wait for the 16th. Yes.
I'd be more surprised if you didn't get this on the day of release.
In
fact, if there's an option for early access, like, you know, it releases 3 days early with a deluxe edition, I'll be shocked if you don't buy it. Even with you not liking these early release things, it's Assetto Corsa. I can't see you passing up on 3 extra days to play it.
No. Well, it's not going to be a 3-day early thing. It's just...
No, but I'm just imagining it coming out 3 days early because someone's bought the deluxe edition and you've bought the standard, and you sitting there watching them with a face like thunder because you can't play it.
Yeah. I mean, it's everybody's choice if you want to buy into an early access game, because obviously it's not a full release. It's not a 1.0. But I am the sort of person that understands that, and I do sometimes go into some early access games just to play it early, and I don't mind the bugs. I'm an enjoyer of Star Citizen. Remember, that is the abundance of bugs, glitches, and everything going wrong when you log in. So,
bugs? The game is a bug.
That's a feature, actually.
For God's sake.
Yeah,
right,
so
top hours.
You know. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I don't really. It doesn't bother me. I understand that it's early access and it's not complete and all that kind of stuff. Not a lot of people understand that. They go in and then they do a bad review because it's buggy and not complete. And but what I am hoping is good optimization from the get-go. And as long as they've nailed the optimization, I don't mind a few bugs and glitches here and there. Yeah. I think it's going to be a really good experience. I think it's going to be good for the entire sim racing community as well next year when it comes out, because they've been cooking and we're going to be eating pretty good next year as sim racers. Oh yes. Talking of sim racers, did you notice that Keanu Reeves has started sim racing?
Has he?
Yeah, there's a video of him sim
didn't
racing.
know that.
Yeah, because he was in a Subaru. He was doing an IRL race, so obviously he was on the sim practicing. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing to do with Assetto Corsa. I just thought, as we're on the subject of sim racing, I'll just mention that because I saw that on social media the other day. I thought, oh yeah, he's one of us now. He's one of us.
One of us.
Yeah.
One of us. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I'm excited for Assetto Corsa Evo, and I will let you know of new stuff coming to Assetto Corsa Evo on the podcast, of course. Yes, and I could talk about Assetto Corsa more, but I think I'm done. Okay.
Are you sure you don't have anything else you need to get out your system?
Probably not. I'm just really looking forward to it, and it just looks really good, particularly with that weather. Looks spot on. Not to mention that going over curbs and then those physics just look amazing. It just looks a more refined Assetto Corsa, and I'm all for it.
Right, we'll move on swiftly before he starts gushing again. No, I'm excited for you, mate. It looks like a good game, and I'm excited to see more. I'm sure you will keep me up to date on whatever comes out about this.
Oh yes.
Because you will definitely see it before I do. But yeah, look, let's wrap things up there. Thank you all of you for coming and joining us for another of our monthly rants, or rambles rather. No ranting today, just rambling. We like to talk for an hour or two about all the things that we enjoy and invite you along on the journey. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you are, please do give us a follow, give us some kind of rating and review on whatever podcasting platform you choose. Our next podcast is out on the 27th of November 2024. That will be next month. You can stay up to date with the podcast by following all of our socials. It is on, I think, fair to say, all of the social medias, Tom?
Instagram and YouTube. For Fandom's Edge. Yeah, just two.
There you go, under Fans Edge.
We haven't overdone it. No, haven't overdone it.
We keep it simple.
Yeah.
You can also find us both on Discord, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. There will be links in the description. But if you are looking for us, you can find Tom under Maverick RNG and myself under FamilarForce.
And before, I just want to say something before we all definitely wrap up. Be sure to tune in for next month. For I know what I'm talking about this month, a month and ahead, because I mentioned it right at the start. So I want to make sure you're all there for the people that love Star Citizen, because I will be talking about CitizenCon 2954 in depth.
So join us next month for the Starcast. Name is work in progress.
I will be there all day.
But yeah, do join us for that. For more ramblings on Star Citizen. But that said, we will see you next time
on the Fandom's Edge.